We've got with us now Nader Afzalan, who is the Program Director of UC Berkeley College of Environmental Design and founder of The Triangle. And I love, in the explanation I was given, he is an academic with a background in state government. So I've decided that we're going to call him a bureaucrat academic. We've got a new term that we're going to use here because it's such a rare thing. But he's going to talk to you about the secret sauce of creating culture of change with lasting impact. Please welcome Nader.
About 8 years ago, I was in a phone conversation. That conversation changed the way I think about how government works and how it could be operating. And for those of you in the back, that guy is actually not me. If you don't see me here, it's like I've never had that much hair. And I was not actually that happy in that call. I was on the phone call. At the time I was working at CARB, California Air Resources Board. I was on a phone call with one of the directors of MPOs, Metropolitan Planning Organizations, and telling them that, well, you know what, we have reviewed all the plans that you have developed. You were supposed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 15%. And we have looked at the modeling results. I'm not sure if you're getting to that. And what he mentioned to me was very honest, straightforward, and shocking. He said, Nader, you know that we can just move that knob a little bit in our modeling tool and show you the results that you want to see? We can easily get to that 15% reduction. Do you want us to do that? Very honest, but very helpful to us as well. So the program was SB 375 program. California Air Resources Board has been running the program for close to 20 years now. The focus is on reducing greenhouse gas emissions at the regional level. It's asking metropolitan planning organizations to design these programs and plans that's about coordination between land use and transportation to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And each entity or each of these MPOs have their own particular targets. The targets are between 6% to 19%. And the result of the state analysis, including what CARB has already published, shows that the transportation sector is still the major sector in increasing our emissions in California. That's 38%. The program was not running well, not being very active, and we had two options. Only two real options: change the system or stop pretending. And we picked a third option. We kept pretending. SB 375 programs has very clear targets, very clear goals. It's very by the book, work with data to come up with policies that work, but it's not working. So it's very clear on expectations, but it has very limited enforcement. It has very limited teeth. For those of you who are familiar with that program and land use policies in California, state of California does not have control over land use and ways in which local jurisdictions think about it. MPOs, or those metropolitan planning organizations, they do not have control over land use. And we're basically asking them that, oh, you guys have to create all of these plans, beautiful plans, and show that if that plan happens, you're going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. But we actually know that those plans are actually not going to even happen, even if they change the knob or even if they add some ideas about increasing density here and there. Limited enforcement, limited flexibility, and limited interaction. On the California Air Resources Board side, we had very limited interaction with local jurisdictions in terms of pushing them toward, for example, building more housing near transit so that we could reduce our emissions. Fast forward, what I learned here, clarity alone does not get to impact, and we must accept trade-offs and acknowledge failure. We must accept trade-offs. We all have talked about this in the past 2 hours or so. We need to take risks And I'm going to keep coming back to this idea. Fast forward, technology project. I worked California Interagency Council on Homelessness during the pandemic time to build the first data warehouse on homelessness for the state of California, and unfortunately the largest one in the country. And we had only 6 months. The governor really wanted it to happen, and I had 6 months to create this data unit in our new agency, hire staff, hire contractors, run a procurement process that on its own often takes about a year, if you're very lucky. Work with CDT, hire oversight staff to oversee myself, manage legal privacy, security architecture, and we heard about PAL process, that beautiful PAL process that everyone talked about. I had to survive that process, and we had to respond to only 724 system requirements. And do all of that just to get started and start building and getting the approvals. It was very difficult not only on my end and my team's end, it was very difficult on the contractors' end as well. We were asking our contracting team that this website that you guys are designing should be up and running 24/7, and we cannot even think about having the website down for even 1 hour. We were saying that if this is done for 1 hour, you're going to be liable for this, and you're just going to pay $200,000 per hour. And the whole contract was $7 million. So they could easily go bankrupt. It was just like AWS is down, and then you guys are bankrupt. I realized I have to report to tons of different people, and I have to manage tons of different people. It was very chaotic, and my face was not that happy at the time. So that image is actually not a good, that really doesn't represent me at the time. And it didn't get better, it got worse. Oversight over oversight, different colleagues from all these different agencies. We were so tired, my team and myself, that when we were done with the procurement, we wrapped up the procurement in 2.5 months, which is insanely quick. When we were done with the procurement, we were so tired that I felt I really deserve retirement now. And I didn't get retired. We built HDIS successfully in about 7 months. We couldn't meet that 6 months, but 7 months is still extremely fast, and it's one of the fastest and quickest examples of building a massive data warehouse at this scale in the state of California. We did it because of multiple things. Of course, we used Scrum. Scrum was extremely helpful to us. We all talked about Agile. Scrum is all about work in short cycles, prioritizing and focusing, getting very much focused on the kind of thing that we need to do, deliver something during those short cycles, learn and adapt quickly, everything that you don't see in policy world. And in fact, we got very lucky because this was happening during the pandemic. The government was more lean and more open to running faster. And I had to hire staff. And I was very lucky that there were a lot of people in the tech world dealing with midlife crisis during the pandemic, and they wanted to do good in government. So it was possible to attract them and say, oh, you guys are going to just, instead of like $400K per year, you're just going to come here and like, it's less, but you do good and et cetera. And it was helpful. So the HDIS was a success at some level. It had clear requirements, firm timeline. On the other hand, it was extremely burdensome. If my team member was not comfortable waking up at 5:30 a.m., we wouldn't be able to do this. One of the major issues was that everything was a must-have. We wanted to have that website up and running 24/7, and we couldn't even tolerate 1 hour of downtime. Myself and one of my great team members left after this because we were exhausted. What I learned is that when our systems are designed to avoid risk, they struggle to create impact. Fast forward 2022, I was appointed by Governor Newsom to serve as Senior Advisor for Community and Economic Resilience. We were running this massive regional program focused on economic development. I was in this Zoom call talking about our complicated guidelines. And was telling folks that this is an amazing program. We're going to do bottom-up regional planning. We're empowering folks. We're creating jobs. We're reducing greenhouse gas emissions, just transition, all the buzzword that we could include. And we were done. And we're like, okay, this was a success. Now it's time for Q&A. And the first question was that, thanks, Nader, but what is exactly you guys trying to do? The program was called SURF, or Community and Economic Resilience Fund. It was focused on bottom-up regional economic development, 13 different regions across the state. And we did have so many goals that at some point I felt it would be easier to launch a new mission to the moon rather than meeting all of these different goals. Economic development, climate resilience, community development, job creation, by the way, sustainable development looks really nice. And of course, all of this is going to be equitable. It was so complicated that made the whole communication process and the whole effort about rallying the troops to design and implement this program so complicated. And it was not only about too many goals. We had 3 agencies with unclear roles. The outcomes were not very clear. We didn't know even how to measure impact. And one of the major issues was that we were trying to please everyone. It was hard for us to think about that. What if one of these regions is not really comfortable with this? And as long as we're trying to please everyone, we're not pleasing anyone. The result, spotty communication and thin trust. I feel our policy environment is like a Netflix series, long, dramatic, and no one remembers what happened in the first episode. It's real. But we shifted the approach. We realized this is not working. We changed our approach, and we designed California Jobs First. We rebranded SURF to California Jobs First, and in the meantime, we realized it's well beyond rebranding. It's about clarifying the outcomes we want to see. It's about getting more focus, clarifying what is the core goal, what is the North Star of this program. This is more focused on jobs. We rebuilt trust, simplified our communication, clarified roles. What is 2 governor's offices and labor agency were involved, like who is doing what, who's going to be responsible to do things for the next year or so. And we made trade-offs. On the equity side, we said, hey, we are not going to look at equity by looking at CalEnviro screen and the population who are underserved and dealing with pollution, et cetera. We're looking at equity based on regional definition of equity. We defined what that means, and we said, this is an opportunity for the state of California to do Regions Rise, to focus on regions that are underserved and help them grow. The result, anger. One of the largest regions in California almost sued us by saying that we do have the largest number of underserved population. Why we are getting the same amount of money as the other regions? And our answer was, our definition of equity here is about equitable approach to each of these other regions that have been left out for the past 30, 40, 50 years. And this is an opportunity to provide growth opportunities for them. I'm not saying that if I agree with that approach or not, but that clarity and accepting the trust dramatically helped us with identifying what is it the next step that we want to do, and it helped our stakeholders understand exactly what our priorities are. So based on 20 plus years of experience that I've had in both technical roles and policy program roles, and I also did detailed interviews in the past year or so. Thanks so much to those of you who joined the interviews. You know who you are. I've done interviews across the state in California with colleagues that some of them are here, and also national and also across the world, in Brazil and in Spain and etc., talking about what is the secret sauce behind successful programs. Here's the three main components: clarity and focus, and it's not only about clarity of the outcomes we want to get, it's about clarity of the messaging. It's about what is exactly you want to get out of this program and how you are communicating that. Trade-offs, I think it's so key. We are trying to please everyone, and as long as we're pleasing everyone, we're not pleasing anyone. One other very important point is that as political employees, I've served both in civil service roles and political roles. If you're not risking your political life, I'm not sure if you're doing it right. That's about the trade-offs. And it's hard. It is hard because you've worked so hard to get here to this spot, and now you don't want to risk it. But if you don't risk it, I'm not sure if you get to the impact you want to get to. Trust, people power are crucial. We all talked about trust. I don't need to dive into that. But the key point is that this is not about one of these. We need to meet three of them. If our program is clear, but we don't accept trade-offs or work on trust, the program is not going to get to the community impact that it wants to get to. We all criticized in the past 2 hours a lot. So now to the good points. California is slowly moving in a good direction. That SB 375 program that I talked about, there are conversations about redefining that program. There are conversations about if this bill is not working, if this legislation is not working, do we still need it or not? We changed serve to California Jobs First. Great move. And thanks to CDT, we just heard about PAL process that I personally went through. And it's one of the reasons I feel I deserve retirement. That process is changing, as you all heard, in the past 2 hours. So thanks so much to CDT. I feel much better. And there's a lot more happening, too. There is new bills, for example, SB 79, about building more housing near transit. The bill has some problems, and I hope we're going to have a modified legislation that clarified this, but it's a great move, which is going to help that SB 375 as well. And Office of Digital Innovation, ODI, is just an amazing resource that I wish I had access to at the time that I was building HDIS. And we're gonna hear more from Jeffrey Moreno, who's here too. And by the way, my great colleague who left the HDIS team, she moved to Jeffrey's team. So she's at ODI, and she is still at ODI. We already have what we need to design programs that work if we focus on clarity, focus, trust, and trade-offs. And I didn't get retired after HDIS, but I moved to Costa Rica with my wife and son, and it was so fun. Thanks so much.